Oh, I'm alive. Sam, how you doing, brother?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. You were just telling me you're in a bike accident last week. Give the
Yeah,
give the listeners a rundown.
yeah. So, descending down Mount Wellington, which is it's a 45 minute climb up. So it's a pretty steep hill to come back down. Got about, I don't know, probably 4K, 5K from the bottom. And I was obviously just following too close behind a car, and the car slammed on the brakes. It's quite a narrow road, and and a lot of tourists as well. So you get two cars coming out the same way. A lot of people panic, and that car in front slammed on the brakes. Unfortunately, bikes don't stop as quick as cars, and I went straight into the tail light on the left side. So yeah, bikes knackered. I came out okay. There's no damage to the car, which was crazy. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, real interesting accident.
Yeah. So, what does that do for this season? Like, what did you have lined up? Is that going to put a break on anything, or?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an awkward time at the moment. So I've got a half Ironman next weekend. So that's Coles Bay Half, which is a really nice half Ironman. Like it's on our east coast in Coles Bay. It's like a perfect bay swim. You get out onto the rolling roads. You can see the Hazard Mountains as the backdrop, and then like you're running a half marathon with 5K on sand, which is hectic. And then like
Wow.
yeah, beautiful run. And essentially, yes, that's next weekend. I don't have a bike to train on at the moment. I've got the time trial bike, but I'm a bit sketchy about taking that out. Um, so yeah, it's been pretty hard. And then obviously spending time out of the water as well. It's been a bit difficult because obviously I have a strong background with the being in the water. So yeah, it's been a bit tricky, but I reckon it's all manageable.
Speaking of the water, I think this is how the majority of people in the last since October have come across you.
Yes.
You're everyone's tuning into the Lionel Sanders vlogs for Kona week or the Kona fortnight that he did. Then all of a sudden, Cam Worth comes strolling along and a little Aussie fella no one's heard of standing right next to him. He's like, he's going to go break the Kona record, the swim course record. And you're like, yeah, I reckon I could do it. And then you go and do it.
Yeah.
And you crushed it too. Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, no, that was Kona was amazing. So the whole lead up, we started with the practice swim. So that was we started a minute behind the professional men wave.
Mm-hmm.
I've managed to weasel my way to the front. It was like, oh, is it okay if I go in front of you guys? Can I slot in here? And then everyone was trying to move along, and they're like, oh, you've been training with Cameron Worth. You go in front of me. And I was like, oh, okay. So, Ken got me through there, and then yeah, I caught up to the pro men after like a couple hundred meters. It wasn't long; it was like 400 meters, and just kept going through. I sat on the front with those guys, and yeah. So after that practice swim, everyone's like, "Whoa, who is this guy?" They're actually jokes. I saw a slow switch for him, and there were jokes. They're like, "Oh, he's Sam Askey-Doran, just a cover name for Jan Sibbersen." Yeah, there was some jokes along there. I was like, "Oh no, guys, I'm real, I'm real." Um, so yeah, there was like bit of talk after that, and then yeah, I think that was on the Thursday. Lionel's video, or Talbot came through with Lionel's
Yeah.
video, um, and I remember Lionel and Trevor Foley had come in. Talbot was taking the videos and everything. Cam and I are just standing there waiting to get into the water. So we let the influencers go in the water. The Lionel Sanders, the influencers, the
Yep.
YouTubers. Um,
And then he let the serious
and
athletes go after, right?
yeah, that's it. It's all about the influencers.
That's
Everyone
it.
wants to see what's on camera. So they went in, they did their thing. Cameron and I are just walking down. Cameron's obviously getting photos taken with all these other people and get onto the beach. And I see Talbot walking our way, and he's got this massive camera. It's like holding it like that, and this thing is huge. And he just starts talking to Cameron, and Cameron's like, I was completely tuned out. I was like, oh, who is this guy? And then I realized Cameron was talking about me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be famous. I'm on YouTube. This is cool as. Um, and like literally the only words that were said to me was I didn't actually understand him. I was certain he said, "Are you going to try and break the swim course record?" And I had no idea what he said. I was just like, yeah." sure, we'll do it. So yeah, it was really good. And then yeah, on Sunday got in the water and just went for it. It was good.
Yeah, right. So before we get to the race, what sort of like social media bump, people reaching out, sponsors, what did like being on a Lionel Sanders vlog do for personal branding?
So obviously my follow account because Talbot had plugged in my Instagram. He was real sneaky like that. And my bib number too. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy that does it. This is his Instagram, and here's his bib number if you want to follow along." So I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
pressure's on now." Um, so following account increased by like 300 to 400, and then yeah, as you mentioned, so there are actually some brands that reached out the night before the race. I know Roka, they were real sneaky. They sent me a direct message on Instagram as I was having dinner the night before the race, and they're like, "Hey, not sure if it's too late, but do you want to wear our swim skin? We heard you were going for the record, and it'd be really cool if you wore our swim skin." And I was like, "Oh, sorry, it's a bit late." I'd already got a deal with Rocket Science Sports, so same company that Worthy's with, and yeah,
Yep.
they were wonderful over there. It was great. Yeah, so that coming from that Lionel video, there are a few different people. I think it caught Jan Siberson's eye, which was good. And then it also led on to race day. So we were in the staging area and I had so many people. I was at the front and everyone just came up to me like, "Oh, you're Cam Worth's buddy. That's so cool. I saw you in the Lionel video." It was wicked, yeah.
Yeah, right. And how'd you like? Obviously, Cam's from Tassie too, but how long have you guys been connected? How long have you been working together? Because I know he's pretty invested in the Tasmanian sports development.
Mm.
He references it quite a lot in like podcasts he does and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it was about this time last year, a little bit earlier actually. I noticed he was down in Hobart. I had just done this crazy, crazy session for Christmas/New Year's, and it obviously caught his attention in the pool. And while he was down, he started following me on Strava. So that then opens up a little window because when you follow people on Strava, if it's if it's mutual, then you can actually send people messages on Strava. So I sent him a message and I was like, "Dude, if you want to work on your swim, I'm the guy to help you. We've got a coach here who's willing to
Oh,
help you."
ballsy move! Fuck yeah!
Yeah, yeah. Is similar to that anyway. It was like, "Hey mate, do you want to come and swim with us? If you want help with your swim, this is the place to go." And he's like, "Oh, dude, I'd be honored. This is amazing." So yeah, we caught up during an Olympic triathlon that was here, and yeah, organised. I think he was in the water with us the next day, and he was loving it. So that was like probably early February, and we've been talking pretty regularly ever since. And he's been helping out with another Tassie athlete, Jack Woodbury. So he was just racing at the youth or junior super sprint national championships.
Is he the one that wants to do LA? He's like our best shot for LA.
Yeah, most
Yeah,
likely. Yeah, his
yeah,
little red hair runs like an absolute weapon. Like his 5K is 14:45. It's nuts.
yeah. Right.
Um, yeah, and he's like just finished grade 10. It's insane. I do some run training with him, and like just I'm going around the track. I think I'm fast. I think, oh, I'm moving well. This is good. I probably look cool. And then he just runs past me like I'm standing still. It's insane.
Mate, there is nothing more demoralizing than just seeing like you're like I'm crushing it, and then someone just flies past you. You're like fuck.
Yeah, and it's not even like, oh, there goes some open national champion. It's like here
Yeah,
comes this little 16-year-old who's just an absolute whippet doing laps around the track. It's insane.
yeah,
So yeah, Worthy works closely with Woodbury and I, which is really good. I think that's helping along the Tasmanian triathlon scene quite a lot.
yeah. Right. How often are you in contact with Cam now? Is he like a mentor, or is he just like sort of whenever he's in town? Like, what's the deal?
Pretty much every time I've got a question, or if he's got a question, I'll flick him a message, or likewise he'll flick me a message. Usually he's asking about swimming.
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine he'd ask me for riding tips. He seems to have that pretty down pat.
He's probably got that one covered. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like I think before what was it? CCC. It was before Cozumel. He raced Ironman Cozumel, and he sent me a message the day before. He's like, "Dude, I need some tips on swimming in rough water. Can you help me out? Or like I might send him a message because he obviously sorted out everything with Rocket. So I was like, hey, these guys are planning on doing this. What are your thoughts on it? So yeah, it kind of goes back and forth really well.
Yeah, nice. And what what when you sorry, I just literally lost my train of thought because I was thinking too many questions ahead. Um, uh, the art of podcasting, mate. You got to listen and be engaged, but also think about where you want to take the conversation.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so with Worthy,
Mhm.
is he like trying to help you get more? Is he trying to really like push you through to the pro ranks and get more sponsors, and like he really sees that potential in you, or is he just sort of letting you go where you want to go?
So we actually had this conversation. We're not pushing to race professionally. I think, especially from what his experience is, if you go professionally too early, it just ends up, you're at the back of the race. You can't learn from anything. I think that's the big thing about going pro is, you know, having that good learning curve to stay at the front of the race because, the front of the race is always faster. That's,
Mm.
where all the motorbikes are on the bike. That's where all the big groups are. You want to be at the front and actively seeing what goes on in a race. If you're behind, then you're just doing an individual time trial. And so I think we're aiming to look into going professionally at the end of 2026, maybe. And then, yeah, he's pretty much just a mentor. He's not pushing me to do anything, but he's certainly giving out a lot of advice, which is great.
Yeah, that's the like. Obviously, I've never met him, but that's the sort of the vibe I get from him. Like when I listen to the podcast, like number one, always learning. He's just like always
Oh
putting
yeah,
things out. Always been like, hey, like, even when sometimes it's you think he's trolling on Instagram, he'll post a photo of him swimming and be like, give me feedback, and he'll just go through the
yeah.
comments. But like, I think it's good that he's practicing what he preaches because there's been a lot of times where he's said like I'm coming into my prime in my late like now
Hmm.
he's what how old is he 40
I think he's right on 40. Yeah,
right around the late 30s early 40s somewhere in that window
yeah,
um and he said forever like he goes people should just wait and wait and wait but obviously when you're a younger athlete you just like I just want to go and compete and push and push and
yeah.
push so it's good that he sort of put the brakes on you a little bit.
Absolutely, and I think that's definitely the right decision, especially for long course. Short course you can build up. You whack the speed into it, and you need to be young to be reactive and everything like that. But coming into long course, especially the overall toll that it takes on your body, I think being patient is a big key, a really big important part of going into long course racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have like are you being coached by anyone? Are you in like the development squad or high performance unit in Tasmania or anything? Or
It's a bit of a grey area with coaching. So I've got my swim coach, which is Yogi or Justin Helmich, out of Hobart Aquatic. So we're pretty much Tasmania's best swimming club. So you've got the Kona swim course record holder. You've got obviously Worthy. You've got Jack Woodbury swimming with us. So we've got triathlon covered. We're also the only club that's sent anyone to open water nationals, so long distance racing is really good for us. And we've also like most of our athletes in that swimming club are going to nationals for 200, 400, 800, 1500, and we're pretty much near unbeatable in the pool, like state championships in Tasmania. All the medals are going to Hobart Aquatic. On the bike, so I train with another local professional cyclist, Nathan Earl. So he recently started racing for Kinan cycling team in Japan with the Japanese cycling league. But he's been around for ages. So um, where did he was racing with Israel Premier Tech, the team there, and racing for Team Sky a while ago. So like racing with G and Froomey and everything like that. So he's been really good. And then running, so I'm under Jack Woodbury's coach with the running, which works out quite well.
Yeah, right. So how do the three coaches, do they all work together to give you a program, or do you need to sort of do it yourself and sort of like, oh, big swim week, need to pull back the running, that big cycling week, need to maybe up the swimming? Or do they working together, or are you doing it yourself?
I'm pretty much balancing it all myself. So swimming, I think swimming always stays independent just because there's no actual load. Like
Yeah,
there's running
non-weight
and
bearing.
it's non-weight bearing, so you can actually get away with doing a lot of swimming. And usually that's always got a set structure. Mondays are always VO2, Tuesdays are always threshold, Wednesdays are aerobic, and then Thursdays are either VO2 or threshold, and that swaps between Fridays. And then Saturdays is just an absolute smash fest. And then on the bike, I just do whatever Nathan tells me. So if Nathan's like, "Yep, we're doing 4 hours today," then I guess we're going out for 4 hours. If we're doing 5 hours with efforts, then I guess we're doing 5 hours with efforts, and I'll chop and change the efforts if I need to. So say I've already done VO2 in the morning for swimming, and we got more VO2 efforts on the bike, then I'll say, "Yep, I'm going to reduce this, make it a little bit longer." And then we'll meet up by the end of it, so it works out well. And then running's like Tuesdays and Thursdays are nights at the track, so they're always fast. And then Saturdays and Sundays are just long aerobic running, so that always pans out quite well. But
So
yeah,
you're putting in
it's
some volume, dude. That's 6 swims, 4 runs. What do you and how much are you riding?
yeah, 6 swims, 4 runs, and usually 6 rides. I aim for 6 rides.
Yeah, how many hours a week are you doing?
Um, I haven't been running for the last 3 weeks, so I've been consistently at 25 hours a week.
Yeah, right, okay. So it's not. I suppose your swimming is fucking half the time of most people, so that's a big one.
Yeah, so I'm still hitting like 8, 9 hours of swimming a week, and then
And how
with
many Ks do
because
you get done in like 9 hours?
not a lot. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, we got to pump the
Oh,
volume," but
so many people are going to
we're
be pissed off of what you say in a second because you're going to say not a lot, and it's going to be 3 times as much as everyone else.
yeah. So coming from a swimmer's perspective, 9 hours of swimming and doing between 25 and 28K a week.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone's pissed off.
but a lot of our stuff is high intensity. So,
You
you
sure?
know, our VO2 sessions will be 3 rounds of 7 100s on, say, a 150 interval, but we're hitting 58, 59 every single time. And threshold, like we had a Saturday threshold that was 30 200s on 230, holding like 212.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I can't even
Yeah.
comprehend that. I am such like a mediocre swimmer, and that is just those numbers are just so outrageous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you've been swimming for 13, 14 years. I mean, it's
Yeah,
the same with
how'd you
everything,
get? How did you get into swimming, and was it like duck to water sort of thing? Like as soon as you started swimming, like oh yeah, like this kid's gonna be good, or was it like a real had to work it out sort of thing?
Oh, dude, I was the worst swimmer when I first started. So I remember I learned to swim. My mum still got the certificate, actually. It's like in the cupboard somewhere. And it says, I graduated from, I don't know, manta ray class or whatever. And it says, "We don't think swimming is suitable for Samuel. He should pick a different sport."
Dude, you should post that on
Yeah.
Instagram. People would love that. And then like roll it into you breaking the Kona record. That'd be sick. That'd go
Yeah,
viral.
that'd be a good idea actually. But yeah, so me and swimming between the age of like 4 and probably 9, I hated every single second of it. Like I'd be crying in the car when I was younger because I had to go to swimming. Like it was just the worst thing ever. Um, but I did sailing when I was younger, so I was quite a keen sailor. And Dad said, "Well, if you want to sail, you got to learn how to swim." So I
It's
was
a fair
pretty
point.
pissed off. Yeah, absolutely. I don't really want to die in the water.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I was pretty pissed off that I had to learn to swim, but I just jumped in with my cousin Jess, like older cousin, 'cause that's just where I felt comfortable with family, and started swimming at a really small club, Eastern Shore Sharks, and then yeah, just started the stepping stones and started enjoying swimming, and yeah, it's just progressed from there.
Yeah. What point did it start to click? At what point were you? either you or a coach was like, okay, like he's getting better faster than everyone else?
Um, I don't think there was really a point where it was like this kid's going to be really good at swimming. It was always like I enjoy it. I enjoy going faster, so why don't we just keep getting faster? Um, like my first medal at States was in 100 fly. I'm by no means a butterfly. I was 11 years old. I did 100 fly. I got bronze. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I like being on a podium. Let's do this more. So it just kind of progressed from there. For a while, I was like, yep, I'm a 100 fly swimmer now. And then I was like, oh, stuff 100 fly. That thing sucks. So, I went from 100 fly to 100 free and then 200 free and then 400 free. And then Michael Bolt, so he's a professional triathlete based out of Brisbane. He was like, this is years ago. He was like, oh, do you want to do a 1500 with me? I'm going to do that on Saturday. You're the only other person that I think would actually do it. Do you want to do it with me? And I was like, shit, yeah, let's go. So I did my first 1500 at like 14 years old, and it's just been like, wow, I'm much better at the longer stuff than the shorter stuff. So we'll keep doing the longer stuff because it's more enjoyable when you're good at something. So
Yeah, and I'm sure at that age, the field is a lot narrower for the longer distance
that's
stuff. Everyone's 100, 200s. No 14-year-olds are keen to do the Grant Hackett and get out there on the 1500.
no, exactly. Everyone at the time, everyone's like, oh, James Magnuson, I want to be like him. So we'll all do the 100. Or Cam McAvoy, he was a big name at the time as well, where he'd just come into, or I'd say just come into, he's always been around, but just come into the time where he's starting to beat these bigger guys. And so, Cam McAvoy was another one where people are like, oh, he's beating James Magnuson, he's beating this person and he's a sprinter, we'll keep doing that. So at 14, I was pretty much me and one other guy doing 1500. And so I was like, well, I'm winning stuff, let's just keep doing that.
Yeah, mate, I understand what you're saying, but there are so many people who are like me who came to swimming at 28 years old and they're like, this motherfucker he says, just keep swimming faster. It's that easy. And we've
No,
been stuck at 1 minute 4100s for a year and a half.
uh, yeah, it's swimming is one of those things you just have to be so stupidly consistent with. Like, there's a reason that swimmers train probably the most out of, especially elite swimmers train the most out of every single sport. Obviously, professional teams and cyclists, they're out for so long. I mean, they're doing 3-week races in part of a tour. Of course, they've got to be out for 5 hours a day, but in relative to someone who's got a 4-minute race and doing 19, 20 hours of training just for that 4-minute race, it's comparatively, I think swimming is probably one of the hardest sports to train for, especially being so driven on technique and so driven on how you move through the water. Because I know for sure there are sessions where you might be swimming harder, but you're actually swimming slower because you're swimming too hard. It's, yeah, swimming's just one of those sports that is a pain to master.
Yeah. Um, I'm a big Michael Phelps fan, and obviously I can't relate to him in terms of his level of performance, but I can't remember what it was. I think he went like 3 years without missing a day of training, and he would always say, if you miss one day, you go back 2 days in the water. Is that like, do you
Oh,
have any
for
sort
sure.
of, do you reckon that's
Yeah.
true?
Oh, definitely, definitely. So like even with my accident on the bike, I had 4 days out of the water. I jumped in and I was like, holy shit, I'm sinking. There's something wrong. My arms aren't moving properly. My legs are out of sync with everything. It's like that whole feel of being in an unstable environment is just gone. So yeah, that's another reason why swimmers train so much.
It's so crazy. Like you've been swimming for, 13, 14, 15 years, let's say somewhere between 4 and 6 days per week, and then you miss 4 days and you've just like, you regress. Like there is no other sport, at least that I can think of, where there's that sort of consequence.
Yeah. Oh, you look at riding, you might actually feel a little bit fresher by taking 4 days, 3 days off the bike.
100%.
But you're never gonna forget how to ride a bike. Whereas you take 3 days out of the water, all of a sudden your body's not used to that, that movement through the water, and you just completely lose everything.
Yeah, wild. It's nearly not fair. It's nearly like just it doesn't make sense.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, shit deal. When did triathlon kick off then? Like when? So you're sort of like 14, 15 year old start swimming longer course. When
hmm
did you go? Cool. Let's get a bike. Let's start running. Let's put it all together.
Yep. So that was all a product of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, through COVID 2020, we had 3 months where there was just no access to pools, and the next best thing I could do was go on Facebook Marketplace, get an indoor trainer, it's like a mag trainer, and start spinning the legs for 2 hours a day in the garage. And it was the only thing you could do through COVID. They had that whole lockdown. Everyone has to stay home. You can't go out of a 5K radius of your home. So I was like, "Whoa, I'm not riding up and down my street for 2 hours. That's worse than riding indoors and staying still." So yeah, I literally did 2 hours a day of just spinning, 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 doing different sessions. And I was the only person in the squad at the time to come back from that 3 month break and actually be fitter. So everyone else had regressed over that time. They've all been like, trying to swim in the ocean, but not getting that training well. Whereas I was just bumping out the aerobic capacity, and yeah, it paid dividends coming back into the water. And I was like, well, the riding has helped my swimming, so obviously riding's good. So why don't I just start doing that? And then I got into the whole Ironman thing. I started replaying 2018, 2019 Ironman Worlds when it was in Kona. Watching Jan Frodeno absolutely destroy the field in 2019, watching Worthy break the bike course record. I was like, this guy's insane. He's a Tasmanian and breaking bike course records. He's my new favorite athlete. So it was a bit surreal to have him then helping me out, because it was like, oh, I was in grade 11 and I was watching you during school when I wasn't supposed to, because I was just so obsessed with what you were doing, and now you're here talking to me. This is really cool. Um, but yeah, so through 2021, I decided I wanted to move into triathlon. Then I had a few things. I started running, then stopped running, started running again, stopped running. And then, yeah, through 2023, that's when I sort of made the commitment. I got myself a time trial bike, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to, regardless of what happens by the end of 2024, I'll be doing triathlon. And so, yeah, that's how we ended up.
Yeah, I just quickly go back to swimming, just 'cause I forgot to ask
hmm
this one thing. Were you like on trajectory for the Olympics, or what was your sort of goal within swimming? Because it's a big to be as talented a swimmer as you are. It's a big deal to change sports, especially at that
Mm.
sort of year 11, year 12, first year out of high school sort of age. Is like that's kind of where you really go all in on your training.
Yes. So I I was pretty adamant that I wanted to make a world championship team for open water swimming, so
Mm-hmm.
the 10K, the marathon. Um, in 2023, I had an OK race in Busselton, so that's 10K. You go out from the jetty. It literally follows the Busselton Ironman course. You just do that loop 8 times for a 1.25 course to make 10K. I finished like 16th overall. I think I was 11th Australian. I needed to finish fourth. So I was like, well, that was pretty terrible. But I learnt from that. I destroyed myself on the start. I started right in the middle of the pack, and the Australian rules are that the shortest leg is the first leg. So you've got 70 athletes on a 20-meter wide start line, and the first turning mark is 70 meters in front of you. So everyone's all meshing together. I got stuck in there. The lead pack were already 40 seconds up the road in 200 meters because everyone around the mark was just scrambling for position. So that was my race done right at the start. And I was like, well, that was pretty shit. So we're going to come back next year and go again. The year after, so early last year in 2024, I was like, yep, we're making an Australian team. We're really going to hit this hard. I nailed the start. I think I was third around the turning mark. I was in a great position, and then yeah, I just fell apart uh, quite early in the race too. And I think by lap 6 of 8, I was like, well, I guess I'm doing triathlon now. This really sucks. I hate being at the back. Um, so that's kind of like I knew I wasn't going to get any faster in the pool. So is there much point chasing a goal that I know is always going to be just out of reach?
Hmm.
And I told myself I think I'd be better off gambling in triathlon.
What did your swim coach say about that? Was he supportive? Did he kind of agree, or was he trying to go one more? Like, well, let's do 6 month work and we'll do another race and we'll see where you're at.
No, I think we were pretty clear on everything that was going through. I talked to Yogi and he was like, "Yep, you know what? I think if you want to put all your stakes in triathlon and you want to do something really amazing with it, you've got the capacity. You've done it in the pool. You can do it across two other sports." So he was really supportive. He actually came to Kona, my swim coach. He was like, "Sweet, you're going to Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii too." He was there, so we spent a lot of
Awesome.
time in Cameron's. Yeah, we spent a lot of time in Cameron's pool with Yogs walking up and down the 25-yard pool, just helping out. So yeah, it was really cool. He was in full support.
I suppose for Yogi, he probably has worked with triathletes before because Tasmania does have like a bit of history with triathletes, not just Cam, but like other athletes competing
Mm.
relatively well. He probably would have been like 50-50 at swimming, like of making that national team, but like he would know you would crush triathletes at swimming.
Mm. Yeah, so he was actually an open water swimmer himself back in the day. So I raced the 10K and people think that's long. Yogi raced the 25K. Yeah,
It's so long to
and
swim.
and that's all non-wetsuit, not even proper race bathers, like just normal dick togs, you know.
Yeah,
Um, and his nutrition for the race would be Gatorade and a Mars bar. Like that was back when
that's fucking
you
wild.
just, yeah, you just swam and you had someone next to you on a kayak. They held out your bottle and your Mars bar strapped to the bottle. Um, so yeah, he didn't mind that I was going into triathlon simply because it's still got that open water side of things, and he loves open water. Like he'll come to all the local races. He's so good about it. And yeah, so he's quite aware of a whole bunch of different triathletes. We certainly had a few come through the squad. And he's helping out with a lot of other triathletes as well. Some of the local guys that he's friends with, and we get quite a few come down as well. So Jake Birtwistle, he's living in Launceston. He'll come down. He's yet to swim with me. I've taken him for one session. He's yet to swim with us. A part of me thinks that he's a little bit scared, but I know he's also a busy person, so I'll leave that with him. But
Benefit of the doubt.
yeah. No, Jake's a great guy. I like Jake. I like him a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can get into triathlon. So you started riding in COVID. Was there a natural uh, adaptation to the bike? Like when you got on there, were you just like, yep, I'm already better than most sort of like beginner cyclists?
I not really. There was no power meter on my bike. I was literally just going by effort. So I got on and just spun my legs. And when I decided I wanted to go hard, I'd go hard. And when I decided I needed to go easy, I'd go easy. So I did 3 months of that, and then got out on the roads, and I was riding comfortably with guys that I thought were really good cyclists. So I was like, well, obviously something's worked well, something's gone right. So I just keep doing what I'm doing. So then the 70.3 Hobart, which sadly got cancelled, came around for the first time. And I sent Nathan Earl a message and said, hey, mate, do you want to do this as part of a team? I'll get another gun runner and we can do it as a team. And he was like, oh, shit, yeah, let's go. So he's how I got into cycling. It was, yeah, he was kind of the pathway for proper riding, which was good.
Yeah, right. And then, I mean, so the answer is yes. Like you had you picked it up pretty quick. Let's say.
Yeah, I'd say I probably picked it up quite quickly. I think swimming certainly helps with that. Swimming has got such
For
a
sure, it's a
big,
massive aerobic base. Yeah.
it's insane. So having that aerobic base already there is good. And then obviously just 3 months of literally just hard work on the bike probably helps quite a bit in the early stage too.
Yeah, I suppose like you said, you couldn't do anything, so or the only training you were doing was cycling. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of like a
I was basic.
supercharge.
Yeah, I was basically a semi-professional cyclist for 3 months. Like, how can you not get good?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, again, there's a lot of people pissed off hearing you say that because they've been riding for years and can't do it. Um, cool. And then, so you went and you did the triathlon as a team, and then when did first Ironman come along? How'd you qualify for Kona? Let's start progressing down that route.
Yep. So my first individual long course race was Coles Bay last year. So that was a stock standard half Ironman, not through Ironman, but it's
Yep.
still the half Ironman distance. Sadly, the swim got shortened. So from 1.9, it got shortened down to 900 meters or 1K due to rough weather. So I missed out on a podium by like a minute and a half, which is probably the equivalent of the gap that I would have put onto them if the swim was full. But, triathlon's a three sport race, so you can't really complain. And then I was tossing up between trying to go to half Ironman Worlds and full Ironman Worlds. I was like, do I do a half? Do I do a full? I sent Cameron a message and asked his opinion. He said, mate, don't waste your time. Just commit and go to the full Ironman. So I raced Cairns in June last year, and that was it. That's how I qualified for Kona, just first full distance Ironman.
What splits did you put into cans?
So Cairns was a 44:43 on the swim, 4:37 on the
Oh,
bike, and then a 3:32 run. All right.
sorry guys, we just had
So
yeah,
yeah,
go can splits.
yeah. So Cairns splits was 44:43 for the swim, 4:37 on the bike, and then a 3:32 marathon.
Okay, so like swim and bike, obviously swim, but like bike, that's pretty good. 4:30 is like that's moving. That's not sitting around.
Yeah, it actually worked out really well. So I came out of the water like 5 seconds after Hannah Berry. So we went through T1 together. I think she was like fourth female out of the water for the pros. And I was really kicking myself. Joe Skipper came out of the water like 40 seconds ahead of us. So I was like, oh no, just missed Joe. Um, and we went through T1 together, got on the bike together. I left her because I started panicking. I was like, Joe's up the road. I've got to try and catch Joe. And then
That's
after
so
10
wild. In
minutes,
your first Ironman, you're like, I'm gonna go catch Joe's skipper.
yeah, well, it took me 10 minutes to then be like, oh wait, Joe's really good on the bike.
Really good on the bike. That's his thing. Like awful
Yeah,
swimmer, like great on the bike, is good runner.
yeah, because I knew he was around. We were talking a few days before, and yeah, I was like, all right, try and catch Joe on the swim, and then I didn't catch him, but I heard he was just up the road. So I was like, well, if I put in 10 minutes of effort, is there a chance? I did 10 minutes of effort, and there was no chance. So,
No chance,
you
dude.
know,
No.
yeah. So I was punching well above my weight there, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just ride to how I feel.
Even
Caught the
racing
pro.
at the front of the pro female race is for your in context
They're
your first
fast.
Ironman.
Yeah,
Wild,
yeah. Those chicks are fast. Like I.
fast.
I went past them and they look so comfortable, and I was like, "Holy shit, am I doing something wrong?" Because they look like they're going a lot easier than I am. Um, so I rode past, dropped a few bottles here and there, so I stopped for personal needs, and they caught back up and went round me. And then I was like, "Oh no, here they are! I've got to go past again," because I wanted to try and stay in front. And like, I just put a surge of like 450 watts to get past, and then I looked behind me and they're still there, and I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?"
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, riding with the pro women, it was actually pretty cool. Like those chicks are insanely quick.
yeah. They're animals, dude. They are out of control.
Mm. So through the top end of the bike course in Cairns, it's a bit lumpy, so they stuck with me through there. It was like at the time I probably weighed like 83 kilo, so
Yep.
going up the climbs they were actually incredibly fast. But then we got into a flat section. I created a gap from them. Got into T2 alone. I was pretty comfortable for about 3K. And then I think it might have been Els Visser that went past me first. I think she was there. I think it was Els Visser. Um, it was a female in green. I'm pretty sure she wears green. Um, and she just like flew past me on the run. I was like, oh, there's one. And then another one went past. Oh, there's two. And then I think it was Rebecca Clark went past in the red, and I was like, oh dear, I'm just going backwards. So like even on the run, those girls are insane. I was really put in my place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just they're so impressive. I don't think, I mean, most of the people listening to this podcast do Ironman and whatnot, but until you've seen them race, you just like sometimes you
Mm.
can't comprehend how fast they are because they're obviously smaller. They're quite slender, and you're like, oh, like they shouldn't be able to push the amount of power that they do,
Mm.
and then they just blitz you, and you're like, holy fuck.
Oh shit, yeah. Like Hannah Berry ran past me, and like I looked behind my shoulder. I was like, oh, there's Hannah. And then 10 seconds later, she was just gone and out of sight. It was
Yeah.
it was insane.
How did you find how did you find pacing your first time? I mean, obviously surges. We're trying to limit surges, right? Especially 450-watt surges.
Yep.
Um, how did you find like the learning curve? What did you take away from your first one?
Yeah, so my first Ironman on the bike, I started with having all my data. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to see on the bike computer. I got 20K in and I just decided to flip the screen. I turned it into the map. So the only data I had was my speed, the elevation profile for the next 2 kilometers, and the current map of the road that I was on. That's it. I decided just to go purely by feel. I had an idea in my head. I wanted to push 270, 280 watts. I think I pushed 269, and that's without knowing what I was doing at all. So I think pacing wise, I actually got that quite well. Um, Learning curve. So on the bike, nutrition was tricky. I had a rough idea what I was taking in, but then I lost bottles, and so I was like, oh, well, there goes my plan. I had a plan all set, and now it's just not planning out. So I think learning, especially on the bike, is that not everything's going to go to plan. I mean, you're out there for 9 hours. You can't. It's hard to plan everything to the T for 9 hours and get it right. And so I think a lot of that was knowing when to take nutrition, how to deal with losing it, and knowing, how to limit damages because you're not getting in exactly what you planned. Which I think I managed it well. So I still had like 100 grams of carbs in each bottle. I had a bottle between my arms, one behind the saddle, one on the down tube, and obviously some gels in the top tube. And it was like, well, that bottle's gone, that bottle's gone. I've got to utilize the aid stations, really utilize the aid stations, especially in Cairns where it's hot.
Yeah, hot as
Um,
fuck.
yeah, it was 32 degrees on the run, which is nowhere near Kona, but for a first Ironman, that's hot. So, just grabbing bottles to squirt down your back and trying to keep you wet so you keep cool. And yeah, there was just so many things.
What nutrition are you trying to hit per hour?
Um, in Kona, I hit about 120, 130 grams of carbs per hour on the bike.
Yeah.
Um, Back then
And
in
do you know your
Cairns, it
sweat
was
rate?
uh, I don't know it to the dot, but I know I sweat a lot. So I've started using raw nutrition. I've actually got that drink bottle here. It's quite a nice drink bottle. Um, and I think the feed make one similar, and it's got that like high flow nozzle to it. It is like the best
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
ever.
Pure's got them as well, yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So I started using raw nutrition, and their sodium in their nutrition for the carbohydrate mix is through the roof. Like, I think Morton, they have a 40-gram mix, and that's got like 200 and something grams of carbohydrates. sodium, sorry.
Yep.
And raw nutrition, one scoop is 25 grams, but they've got 300 milligrams of sodium per one scoop. So the sodium levels are through the roof, which suits me down to the ground. So yeah, being on top of that for someone who like me, who's a salty sweater and a heavy sweater is, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's interesting because like there's so many things that you speak. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we're back.
Uh, there's so many things that you speak about where there's just like you have a natural adaptation. So obviously swim, bike, very good, and then your ability to assimilate carbohydrates, right? Like there aren't many athletes who get that sort of 120, 130, 140 grams of carbs per hour and can cop it. Most of them are that 90 to 100
Mm.
window. The only downside you have is your sweat rate, which is like if you listen to like say someone like Reedy was the reason he never performed well in Kona, even though he's a smaller
Mm.
dude. Sweat rate was massive, just couldn't perform. But like, so you
Yeah,
tick so many boxes, and then there's just only one that hasn't lined up perfectly.
yeah, pretty much.
What are you going to start working for like a sports dietitian or anything to like nail in your sweat rate and sodium needs and everything?
Um, I haven't looked into it. It's certainly been on my radar to really get that covered. I think Raw Nutrition actually do like a test, and then there's also if you go to championship races, there's always tests there.
Yep.
Coda are another one. They do sweat tests as well. So I think in March last year, Jack Crome and Luke Willian. So Luke Willian, he went on to the Olympics this year or last year in Paris for triathlon. They were down, and I was doing some training with those guys, and we had dinner with the people with Steph, who's managing Coda Nutrition, and they're just like constantly sweat testing these guys. So yeah, I'd certainly be keen to get in contact with someone about sweat testing just to make sure I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I think that you'll at least for me, like so I'm about 84 kilos, so we're sort of similar size. When I
Mm.
started nailing my sodium intake, performance just went like exponentially up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh, for
like it's
sure. And
definitely
like,
something I notice with the bigger boys.
oh, definitely. I mean, just taking that raw stuff, so having the higher sodium content, I was out on Saturday. So before I crashed, I did 2 reps in Mount Wellington. It was like the first one was at 320 watts, the second one was at 315 watts. And I'd never felt fresher after doing 3,000 meters of climbing just by having that sodium there. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big belt. Like everyone says, nutrition's the fourth discipline, right? But like I think if you nail your hydration and your obviously your carbs, but if you nail your
Hmm.
hydration, it's another level.
Yeah, well, in Kona, I was talking to Worthy about all these different, nutrition ideas, and he's like, "Well, dude, a lot of people say you can't come back from not having enough carbs, but you can. You just take in more carbs, you eat a solid food, and you'll be right in 30 minutes. You cannot come back from dehydration. There is no way back from dehydration and not taking in enough sodium to replace what you've lost. There's just no way."
Yeah, I mean the races he does with on the bike, like say 2-3 weeks, sometimes with the tours. If you fall
Hmm.
behind on a day, like you're not ready for the next day of racing. You can't even get back in that 24-hour window. You're behind the whole tour then.
No, not at all. It's hydration's key.
Yeah. All right, let's do Kona, dude. So you sort of took us through the swim, broke the swim course record. Let's go from there.
Yep, so broke the swim course record. I came out, I had no idea how fast I'd swum. All I knew is that I needed to get to the medical tent because the jellyfish in Kona were just insane. A lot of guys were like, "Oh yeah, I got stung once, I got stung twice, I got one at the finish, one at the start." I got stung about 12, 13, 14 times while I was out there. So that was like, all across the forearms, across the face, under the shoulders, just everywhere. So I spent like 7 minutes in transition just standing there, like with my arms spread, getting sprayed with vinegar all over my body just because I was so heavily stung. Um, so yeah, 7 minutes there, got out onto the bike, still had no idea what was going on. I just wanted to get out as soon as possible because I'd spent so long in transition, second out of the water it had already come out. So I swam 7 minutes faster, but
Did you put 7 minutes into the bloke in second?
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Jesus.
like in that wave I was 45 and the second fastest person in my age group was 52. Um,
Wild.
yeah, so I was leaving transition as he was coming out, and I was like, "Oh no, I've just lost everything." So I just started riding fairly solid until I got out of town. I saw Cameron. I waved to Cameron because he was a little bit further back than we'd hoped. So I just a little wave to get him moving on. And I remember Cameron talking. Actually, he was like, "Oh, I saw you wave, and I figured that meant something good." So I was like, "Ah, well, yeah."
Yeah.
um, and I didn't actually know that I broke the course record until I got about 50k onto the bike. So through, I think it was Waikoloa. Um, and I cannot stress enough, the roads in Kona are amazing. It's so smooth. Um, but then, yeah, so I got to Waikoloa and Talbot Cox was there with his camera. He took a photo and he was like, "Oh, dude, you got the record." So he was yelling out to me, and I was just like, "Oh, shit, yeah, this is amazing. I got the record." I had about 5 minutes where I was just like, "Holy shit, I've done it. I've achieved this goal." And then it dawned on me that I still had 125 Ks of riding left in a marathon. And I was like, "Oh, fuck."
What's it like? Second Ironman ever. Well, it's a world championship, and you're out the front of the race, like you're leading the
It
bike.
is, there's two feelings to it. So on one hand, you're just like, "Holy shit, this is amazing." I've gone to world championships in my first year. I'm leading the race in Kona of all places, on this amazing quiet road with rolling clouds and lava fields, and it's like it's nothing you've ever experienced. And then on the other hand, you're just like, "Holy shit, I'm leading in Kona. This is crazy." Like you're just freaking out. It's like, "Where is everyone? What's going on?" There's people here cheering for me. This is insane. I actually had one moment where I was on like this dead straight piece of road, and like it's dead flat and it drops away. There's a big descent, and obviously the back end of the pros were a little bit up the road, but the helicopter had actually come back along the road, followed the road, and was just flying towards me at a, I don't know, 15 meters above the road. So I was going straight into a helicopter that was coming straight for me, and that was just like the coolest. I think it's my favorite moment. I broke the course record. But my favorite moment was having a flyby by a helicopter come towards me.
Did you get that
Um,
footage?
I think I just missed out. There was
Oh,
like
okay.
you saw me go through the bottom, and then it like kind of panned out to the sea.
Okay.
But like it was the sickest feeling ever. It was mad.
Yeah, I bet. Um, and then I suppose the third part of like leading the bike thing is you're saying like it's fucking awesome and all that stuff, which it is, but then you've got to be like, okay, like get into my rhythm, find my heart rate, stick to the right power, and like try and calm yourself down, which is just sounds almost impossible to do in that situation.
Yeah, well, I did the same thing in Cairns. All that I had on my bike computer was current speed, map, and the elevation profile. So, yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just riding to feel, which seems to go pretty well. Like the last three times I rode to feel, it was all the Cairns was 269, Kona was 267, and then I did a 4 hour training ride on the time trial bike again, riding to feel, and that was 268. So everything always ends up pretty even. The heart rates are always quite similar. So I just kind of trust how my body feels and go by that, and it usually works out pretty well. I mean, obviously you could be crook and be pushing same effort, but the power's 30 watts lower if you really really cook. So yeah, I think trying to calm myself down, it was essentially just like understanding what I still had left. I mean, it's an Ironman. You've got ages to go, so
Yeah,
you
even
just
when you're
gotta.
nearly done, you've got ages to go.
Oh yeah, nearly done. 10% of the race is still an hour, so.
Yeah, yeah. Um, cool. So, what'd you do on the bike? What was your split for the bike?
My bike split was bang on 440. So
Okay.
I was a little bit slower. I really struggled with Harvey. So it's like an awkward climb up and then a rocketing descent down. But that's where we had all the crosswind. So it was like a cross headwind going up. You're moving it, I don't know, 22k an hour. You might be pushing 300 watts. And it's one of those climbs where you don't know if you need to be in the aero bars or on the base bar because it's just really awkward. And then you've also got that crosswind, so you're moving across the road and everything. You get up to Harvey, you've got the turnaround, and you've got this rocketing tailwind, so you speed up so quickly, and then you get to the open section just after Harvey, and that's when you get the crosswind. So you're descending at 70k an hour, but riding your bike like that into
Hmm.
the wind. It was real hectic. So yeah, just managing that was yeah.
Yeah, right. And then the run. How'd the run go?
The run was hot.
Yeah.
So being from Tasmania, our especially at the time, our recent weather, it was pissing with rain and 13 degrees. Um, in Kona, the run was 90% humidity and 38 degrees. So yeah, it was fucked.
Yeah.
It's the only way to put it. So you come out of T1 and you've got the whole crowd. You're on along a Lee Drive, and you're just like soaking everything in. So it's for the age grouper experience. You're just like, this is amazing. You're taking everything. There's people everywhere, and you're just like, yeah, let's go. Arms up, high fiving people, seeing all your friends and family that are there. Like, I, Cameron's little fella Wyatt, so he's 4 now, and White's on the side of the road, just like, go Sam, and everything. It's just so cool. And then you come up Palani Road, everyone's, chattering, there's aid stations there. You turn left onto the Kuakini Highway, and then it's just dead. Like there's nothing. It was a tailwind heading out as well, so you had no cooling effect. Um, and it was just like a highway. There's no one there, and it is probably the worst I've ever felt in my life while competing. You're just like you're hot, you're hungry, you're alone, and you are just dying. Like it's the run's insane in Kona. People think Cairns is hot, and I actually saw people collapsing in Cairns. The run in Kona, it hurts people if you're not careful.
Were you able to do any form of heat or humidity training beforehand, like either being in the garage, like jackets and things, or were you able to
Yeah,
do anything to adapt?
yeah. I tried my best. So I was like, full winter kit, sitting in the garage, no fans for half an hour, just pushing like 240 watts on the trainer. I would say not even that was enough to help with the heat in Kona.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's a different kind of heat. You can't escape it. So you might go to Cairns and it's hot. There's a lot of sun, but because it's coming from the air and coming from the sun, once you get moving, you're fine. And it's like it's the heat that you get sunburnt from. The heat in Kona, because it comes from the rocks and the lava rocks, it cooks you inside and out. So yeah.
Awesome. So how'd you finish up? How'd the run finish up?
The first 11k was great. I was running through all the aid stations. I was feeling really good. The 5k after that, I was like, holy shit, I might actually be in trouble here. And then I got to the energy lab, which is famous for being stupidly hot and just like an absolute mind fuck. I got there and I was really lucky. I found a guy who was running the same sort of pace as me, and we pretty much just like tapped each other on the shoulder. I picked him and said, "You're running with me." And he looked at me and he was like, "Yep, I'm running with you." So we pretty much just hopped aid station to aid station through the energy lab, which was pretty much the saving grace of that race was this guy saying you're not allowed to walk, and I'm telling him that he's not allowed to walk. So it worked really well. Got out of the energy lab, and then you're just looking at the watch. 10k to go, 9k to go, 8k to go. You get closer and closer to Palani roads, your legs feel terrible. Everything feels uphill. Even the downhills feel uphill. Um, and so you start to see Kona Town. You're looking at your watch. It's like 5K to go. All right, it's just a park run. That's all that's left is just a park run. And then you get 4K to go, and you're like, oh, I swear that was 20 minutes. It was that last probably 7K was the hardest thing I've ever done in any sort of race. Um, and then yeah, you get to the top of Palani Road where it kind of intersects down, and that's just like the only downhill that actually is downhill. Everything else is uphill. Even if it's downhill, it's uphill. So you get to Palani Road, you come down, and it's just like, sweet Jesus, the race is over because people are here now. Yeah, you can get excited again about being at a world championship race. But yeah, that run was just brutal.
I think they're the only two relatable things you've said this whole podcast is number one, how tough the back end of an Ironman is, but number two, I've done 5 Ironman now, and every single person I've spoken to, including myself, has there's some point where you're running along past an aid station, you're like, "Am I running with you?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm running with you." And like everyone finds that buddy, even if it's for 5 or 6
Yeah,
k's, just to get you through it. Everyone has had that conversation.
yeah, it was really good. Like it was just perfect timing. We were both walking together. Well, I kind of ran up next to him and started walking, and then he passed me and started walking, and I passed him, started walking. And then I just tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, dude, you're running with me now. And he was like, yeah, we're running together. We've got to keep each other honest through here. So it was really good. I actually found him on Instagram afterwards. He sent me a message and I was like, dude, I cannot thank you enough for just being an amazing person to share that experience with. It worked out really well for both of us.
That's awesome, man. What was the final time for Kona?
Final time for Kona was 9:26.
Yeah, nice. So that's for your second Ironman. That is a super impressive performance.
Yeah, thank you. I'm it was kind of bittersweet because it's like I was hoping to go sub 9 and I had all these big ideas, but at the same time, it's like I just finished racing in Kona and got the course record, so I can't be unhappy, but I'm not happy, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
Um, yeah, it was a really weird feeling in the recovery zone. I actually sat down next to Ryan Miller, so he works in with Win Republic and
Yep.
he's got his two Wolves coaching. I sat down with him and we were talking about the race. The first thing I said was, "Holy shit, dude, you flew past me." He was running like a machine. And it was really great to see that even someone like him who can run through a marathon like that, he was also just in the hurt locker the whole time. Um, and just sharing experiences in the finishing area, in the recovery area. It was just like, I thought I was struggling and seeing that Ryan was struggling and other people are also struggling, it kind of brings everything together of, hey, I've just finished the hardest single day endurance event in the world, and I'm surrounded by other like-minded athletes. This is great.
Yeah, there's something special about the recovery area. Like, it doesn't matter if you did it in 8 hours or you did it in 18 hours. Like, everyone's gone through the same thing, and it's just
Absolutely.
everyone is just there. You're all the same. You've all gone through the same thing, and it's a cool feeling.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. So, what's the plans for 2025? Obviously, like, you want to try and get some age group podiums, got some races lined up.
Yeah, so I'm down to race Coles Bay next weekend, which should be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But the main focus is Ironman New Zealand in March.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go there. Worthy will be there. He said he'll race, so we'll go there and work stuff out together. Joe Skipper will be there, which is
I was going to
cool.
say, Joe's there. You'll be able to catch him on the bike, mate.
I think I'll stick to just trying to catch him in the water. I'll stir him up if I get too close, and he's within yelling distance. I'll stir him up for sure. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got a lot of banter. He's actually been really helpful as well. So Joe got me involved with Wove Saddles. So
Okay.
Nick that owns Wove Saddles. Joe sent me a message and he was like, "Great, let's hop on board. We'll do your deal on a saddle." We've got it. I met him formally in Kona, and he was super keen to chat. He's really helpful, and he's been like in terms of bike position and getting the bike fit comfortable and powerful and aerodynamic, he's single-handedly been the biggest help ever. I can't thank Nick enough for everything he's done for me, which has been great. And Joe also got me in contact with, I think it's pronounced Valera Endurance. So
Oh,
they
yep, the
do,
strength guys. Yeah.
yeah, strength with Kate and Nick there.
Yep.
So they've been a really big part of everything as well. So I've just recently started up with that, which is good. And then, yeah, I know a lot of other people that are going to New Zealand as well. So that's going to be a big race. And hopefully qualify for Worlds in Nice. The course there should suit me a lot better. I'd really like to race Worlds in Nice. So those are the two main sort of things that I've got going on.
Yeah, and if you don't, I mean, I'm sure you will, but if you don't qualify in New Zealand, have you got a backup plan?
Yeah, Cairns.
Cairns, yeah.
Yeah, really like the Cairns course. I think it's probably out of all. I mean, I say this, I don't have the experience for all the Ironmans in Oceania, but I think based on what I've seen between all races, Cairns is probably the one to go to. It's like wicked bike course, the swim course is great, and the run course is just all vibes. The spectators in Cairns are great.
Cairns and Bustleton for me, like, I think Ironman WA is the best Ironman in Oceania. I haven't
Yeah,
done New Zealand, but I think, but for me, Busso is, and then Cairns just under it.
yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I've seen everything from Bustleton, and it. I mean, I've swum the swim course. Whether I did it as a 10K, but I swam the swim course, and the swim course is cool. So,
Yeah,
if that's anything to go off, then I reckon the rest of the race is just going to be wicked. And Bustleton
it's
itself, it's such a great town.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. The big difference is like I think the courses, it's just a personal preference, but
Mm.
Bustleton town comes out and lines the whole foreshore, like
Oh shit, yeah,
all the way along the course. So there's only a couple of dead spots, and it's just all the pubs that are along the foreshore.
yeah.
Everyone's just getting stuck into their work and just they've got they're an enthusiastic bunch.
Oh, the crowd in Bustleton is great. They also come out for the open water nationals as well. So that whole
Yeah,
pier
right.
is just lined with people, and along the beach is lined with people just watching. So they obviously like their sporting events because there's just so many people that get around everything there.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll take that for what it's worth. It's too late for Nice, like obviously because Nice is before Bustleton. But if you get a
Mm.
chance to go to Ironman WA, I think I think it's the best one in Oceania.
Oh, for sure.
All right, dude. Plug anything you're going on, social media, any businesses you got going, sponsors. Let people know what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a partnership with Raw Nutrition. They've been a great help. It was actually insane. So I was talking to Alex on like a Thursday, and they sent me all their nutrition from Florida to my house in Tasmania within 4 days. And that was like, yeah, that's insane. And that's like, carbohydrate mix, electrolyte mix, and that stuff works amazingly. So that's one thing I've got going on, a partnership there, and then looking towards Win Republic. So, like I mentioned, Ryan Miller is a great guy. So he's helping me out a little bit there in terms of getting a suit ready, which is good. The CDA suit is insane. They sent me one to try, and this the new CDA suit, it's yeah, like nothing
It's meant
else
to be
I've
lightning.
yeah. It is literally that. I tried it on and just standing in the mirror, I was like, damn, I look fast already. It's one of those suits where even if it isn't fast, like even if it wasn't faster than the previous version, you're just going to race fast in it anyway.
Look good, feel good, race good, mate. That's it.
Exactly, exactly. So that's another thing I've got going on. And then Rocket Science Sports. So in Kona, they were a really big help. They sorted me out with the swim skin there and the tri suit, which is really good too. So looking at working something out there. Um, and then Running Edge. So they're a local running shop in Hobart. They've been a really big help. So they they do Point to Pinnacle. They help organise Point to Pinnacle, which is the hardest road half marathon in the world. So that's like straight up the mountain. It is literally, there is 3 meters of descending in the whole race, and everything else is just uphill. There's 1,271 meters of climbing.
Brutal.
Yeah, so they help organise that, and they're a specialist running store, which has helped me out quite a bit as well. So that's good. And then yeah, Hobart Aquatic in the pool, they're an insane club. Like, there's nowhere else better in Tasmania to go for swimming.
Yeah, awesome, dude. Social media, where can people find
Uh,
you?
yeah, so I'm pretty easy to find. Just Sam.Askey-Doran on Instagram. That's pretty much the only thing I run at the moment. So yeah, it's all pretty simple.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for jumping on, and we'll get you on after Ironman New Zealand. We'll do a recap and we'll do a Kona preview and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds like a plan. Love to see it.
Awesome, dude. I'll talk to you soon.
Legend, mate. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.